on a day-to-day basis, or certainly here in the park, one of the more unusual species. And we're going to try our best to get a little routine here. So number 2 then is over there. Gonzo is the brown one with the pink head. This is Gonzo flying across. Hey, well, they're going to get a lot closer than that. Gonzo is a hooded vulture. So we've got a Bateleur eagle and a hooded vulture, which are 2 pretty unusual and pretty cool species, if you ask me. We'll see if we can get Gonzo to come down and see you guys here. Lovely, this is working better than yesterday already. That's a disaster. So these are both sub-Saharan species. They're found south of the Sahara Desert. That's what that means, and they're both critically endangered. As Gonzo flies over up to Donal on the back wall on this side, that's probably the most endangered animal you'll ever see in the flesh, realistically, more so than any panda or big cat species. The hooded vulture has seen a population decline down to less than 1% of its original population. And there's a huge number of factors, unfortunately, because of the way this display works. Hey, buddy. We're not going to have time to go into all of the details. If you want to know more about that sort of stuff, we can for sure chat about it later on. But the big thing is, these are both scavenging animals. They're both quite small as far as vultures and eagles go out in Africa, and they're used in traditional medicines in parts of Southeast Asia and parts of Africa, particularly Southern Africa. So they are highly sought after, which is, there's nothing you can do about that if there's millions of people, or a population of millions of people, who seek the products which come from that animal. So it's unfortunate. But to talk a little bit about their biology and I suppose what they do. Obviously vultures are scavengers, and you can see Gonzo's pretty quick as she's flying over here, and pretty efficient. She's got a real big broad wingspan, and gliding is pretty easy for her. So she is a scavenger. That means, like all vultures, she only eats animals which are already dead. She only feeds on animals which have passed away. She's one of the smallest vultures in Africa. They get to about 6 times that size. Vultures get ginormous, so she's pretty dainty as far as they go. And she is, as a result, at the bottom of the pecking order. Zulu, over here on the other hand, is a little bit different. So Zulu, the Bateleur eagle, is, again, one of the smallest eagles in Africa. You can tell it's a new, isn't it? So these are one of the smallest eagles in Africa, and as a result they're also at the bottom of the pecking order. So they have got a slightly different way of getting their food, a slightly different way of feeding. One of the things they love to eat is actually snakes. These are fantastic hunters of venomous and non-venomous snake species. And one of the reasons they can do that is because they've got a big crest of feathers all around their head and their bodies, quite puffy. In Zimbabwe, he's really scavenging now. He's just even that there could be an element of risk when you introduce an eagle and a vulture into the same space and they're competing for food. But you'd be surprised, they're pretty good. And that's because both of those species will encounter each other consistently in the wild, right? They live in the same place. They'll be eating at the same carcasses. So they're pretty patient birds, which is great for us. So we're going to take this guy into the crowd to see you guys, so just stay nice and calm and still. Does anyone know what he is? He is an owl. Snowy owl is a good guess, but it's not quite right. Have another guess. Barn owl, that's it. The only 2 species of owl that people know. Barn owls and snowy owls. So he is a barn owl. He's an Irish barn owl, so native to this part of the world. But what's cool about barn owls is they're part of a really small group of animals that are found on every continent on the planet. So we can include ourselves into that elite group. We're a species that has colonized the world naturally, right, before the Industrial Revolution, so it counts. We were able to colonize the planet. Barn owls have done it off their own accord. Rats do not count, even though they're found everywhere on the planet, because they followed us and they came on our ships and our boats. Ospreys and peregrines are another species. So this guy is one of those. So you have to be really good at whatever it is you do if you have populated the globe. And barn owls are pretty much as efficient as a predator comes. So if you think of a predator, a wild animal that hunts other animals, usually things like sharks and crocodiles and tigers are the first thing that come to our mind. It's very rarely a cute little barn owl. But he's as good an example as you can get. In fact, the book by its cover. This guy is he's a serious little hunter. He is very friendly as well. Like, I'm not saying he's aggressive or anything like that. He's a wonderful, wonderful little character. Does anyone know what barn owls hunt? Now, obviously it depends if they're in the jungles of Southeast Asia or if they're in a field in County Meath. They're not going to be eating the same stuff. So mice, yeah, in this country, it's normally rodents. Now, believe it or not,